Welcome back to episode 7 of the Bank On It podcast, brought to you by the Appalachian Newspapers, joined as always to my left, Regional Sports Director Randy White, and behind the camera, Cory, Vance. Had a lot of high school basketball action tipping off around the region, and you guys got out to a couple of those games this week. Just saw some good basketball.
Yeah, last week, things really kicked off after football season ended. Basketball season technically started 2 weeks ago, but, with football season still going on, we didn't really get out to games until last week. Early last week, we saw Shelby Valley boys beat Betsy Layne. Cody Potter's a name people might want to remember. He had 35 in that game against Betsy Layne.
Wow.
Linky forward, he can play some two-guard. He's got range. Had a couple dunks in that game. Shelby Valley is one of those teams that, right now they look like they're in the mix for that region title, not only in the 59th district, but maybe in the region as well. I mean, they're playing well, off to a 3-0 start. Later on in the week, I got out and saw the Belfry girls take on the Betsy Layne girls. Belfry looks pretty good right now. 3 players, Lindsay Miller, Mackenzie Maynard, and Kylie Stanley. 3 players down low, and then you got some guards in Ariel Mounts and Lindsay Phillips who complement them well. So Belfry was looked really good. Kind of got off to a slow start against Betsy Layne. Really got things going underneath and inside. Cruised to a big win. Belfry's got a lot of talent over there. Cory got out to Pikeville and Paintsville, and everybody was talking about Pikeville this year as one of the favorites to win the girls' 15th region. And Paintsville come up with a big win. I mean, it was a highly contested game throughout. And Paintsville found a way to beat Pikeville there at the end. So, a little bit of an upset for folks there this week. So, the region's already getting competitive, and we're in week 2 after 2 weeks of play. Everything's heating up a little bit. So, and then this weekend, Shelby Valley boys, they picked up a big 30-point win over Pike Central, where Cody Potter again had 24 points to lead the way for Shelby Valley through 3 games. And, that's a small sample size, but right now, scoring 24 points a game again for Shelby Valley.
Well, a lot of these teams just getting a lot of their players ready to go from football season. Not much of no layover, really whatsoever, between football and basketball for a lot of these guys. So there's a lot of basketball going on. I guess, the weather being the way it is outside right now, of course, going to affect a few of the tip-offs going around this week, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, as of recording this, we're recording this on Monday. All the games for today have been canceled. So things so far the rest of the week are still looking good. But, even though the weekend, some teams made some plans last week to cancel some games or reschedule some things. YMT was one of the WYMT Classic last week was one of those things that was going on. And, we'd planned on getting out there, but Saturday night we didn't know what the weather would be. So, we missed our chance to get out there. But, that game, that Classic's always a good way to tip off the year and see where teams stand early. And it looked like Clay County came out of that one with all 3 wins. So, some good action out there. But, yeah, weather's definitely a factor right now.
And these are games that they'll make up, on the back end of the schedule?
Yeah, they'll find a way to, or sometimes they just get canceled altogether and they'll pick somebody up. But most of the time they reschedule and they'll find a date that's open that works for both of them and try to get them in at some point in the season. So
boys and girls, 15th region basketball just getting fired up around the region. There will be plenty of games to get out and go see in the next, really in the coming months ahead, all the way into the new year. So definitely get out and try to check out some boys and girls high school basketball action. Lots of good players in the 15th region, I'm sure. Anybody in particular, maybe you're keeping an eye on? I know you keep an eye on basically everybody.
Yeah, we keep an eye on everybody. But in the 15th region, the thing for the boys is to look out for is Pikeville's the 2-time defending champion. How are they going to play this year? They've not really got off they've not really started yet. All the team is playing for football, so they're a little bit behind of everybody else right now. So the thing is to see what kind of start they get off to, how long it takes them to get in their groove and start playing well. One of the teams that early on that looks like they're going to be tough to deal with is Johnson Central. They're always in the mix in that 15th region. And then right down the road from Johnson Central is Paintsville. Right now those 3 teams and Shelby Valley is probably a 4th that, they have more talent than a lot of schools around. So, and then the other thing going on with Floyd Central is, they've had some controversy with Coach Spurlock getting suspended for 3 games. So to see how they kind of rebound and do there out of the 58th district. So I mean, a few storylines there going on right now, so to look at. But in the girls' side, I mean, Pikeville is one of the teams that everybody thought would be right there. Johnson Central returned everybody from their 15th region team. So there's, those two are the favorites there. But then you look at Shelby Valley. When is Cassidy Rowe coming back this year from injury? She's one of the top players in the state. Only a freshman, tore her knee up over the summer. Can she come back is one of the big questions this year. And how long will it take her to get in the groove and kind of take over? I mean, there's a lot of questions right now up there in boys and girls.
Yeah, and just getting all these guys back in the gym from the football field, I would think would, take you a couple of weeks. I know most of them have been playing together for a while, so maybe not as long of an adjustment period as you might think. But, coming in off the football field, being banged up, how long does it take some of these guys to, get 100%, these teams really clicking, and you see what maybe kind of potential some of these teams have down the road. So that'll definitely be interesting to keep an eye out for as the season rolls along here. Lots of great coaches in the 15th
Oh,
region.
my goodness, yeah. They're loaded with talented players and talented coaches. I mean, just about you pick a team and just talk about the coaching jobs that these guys do. Speaking of coaches, Randy McCoy at Eastridge has been under the weather a little bit, had open heart surgery a couple of weeks ago, still's not made it back. Everybody's hoping and praying that he's getting back soon. And so, I mean, there's some storylines with coaches there, too.
Yeah, we definitely want to wish Coach McCoy well, and we want to see him back up and on the sidelines as soon as possible. We've got some highlights from a few of the high school basketball games around the region. Randy, tell us a little bit more about where these highlights are coming from this week.
Last week, Cory got out to Eastridge and Pike Central boys. We got a few highlights from that. We also got Belfry and Betsy Layne girls and Pikeville and Paintsville girls. So a few highlights from those games. And on the upcoming podcast, you can expect some more highlights from some of the games we get up to. And check them out right now.
So our Saturday pretty much started out like most of Big Blue Nation Saturdays, settled in for the Seton Hall game, Madison Square Garden, and I mean, really ran the emotions into high gear that day. Took us from high to low to high to low. An incredible shot by Miles Powell for Seton Hall in the corner. The double clutch three. And
nothing anybody could do about that. The defense was there. I mean, I think it was quickly on him there. And, he has to double clutch just to get the shot off while he's falling away off a step back three. The kid made it. He was hot as fire right there. And give credit to him, he made it. But just talk about, Keldon Johnson.
Yeah, Keldon Johnson, I mean, coming right back, and that was not, I feel like that was not a luck shot, man. He hit that thing. I mean, the kids these days have so much range with their shooting ability. I mean, he shot that. I'm sure that's a shot he's shot 100 times before. Now, you can't always count on it to go in. I don't know what the percentages would be on a shot like that to go in, but hits an unbelievable shot. Everybody who's in bank that day watching the game, we were all out of our seats, feeling so good about things as they go into overtime. But I think we talked about when the game first started, defense, man. I mean, we rotated guys. When a guy gets as hot as Miles Powell got down the stretch in that game, we were running Higgins at him. We were running quickly at him. I mean, there's just not much you can do. The defense didn't look great during the game, but they're down the stretch. They were on it.
Better.
They knew where the ball was
They
going.
looked a lot, and they were in their spots. Came up with a couple big steals too late in the game and in overtime to stay around and have a chance to win it. But I mean, you got to give Powell credit. The kid just took the game over.
Yeah, he went unconscious for sure at the end of that game. I mean, that was a really good game. P.J. Washington, 29 points, 12 rebounds. I mean, I felt like maybe down the stretch they were forcing it to him a little bit too much, maybe a little too far away from the basket like we talked about. He's not much of a face-up guy. He's back to the basket guy more than anything.
Yeah, with P.J. Washington, you feel more comfortable when he catches the ball on the block.
Definitely.
And he can just turn and make a quick shot or make a post-up move. When he's getting the ball 18, 20 feet away, that's when things start happening that are not good. I mean, we've got bailed out a couple times with some fouls or this or that, but he had some bad turnovers there in overtime being 20 feet out.
Yeah, and he's just not a guy that you want to try to take somebody off the dribble. He needs to get deep position on the post, and his post moves are looking better than they did last year, and he can do some things when he gets hot. And then, toward the end of the game, just going into overtime, you feel like we should have the momentum going to that, but we came out a little bit flat.
Yeah, gave up 2 easy baskets to start overtime after having all that momentum. It might have been one of those things. A young team, they don't know how to carry the overtime, the momentum into overtime after making such a shot. Maybe all their energy was getting there.
Yeah.
And then when they got to the overtime, maybe came out a little flat and got behind, but they still had chances to win.
Yeah.
The difference between the end of regulation and the end of overtime, from what we talked about Saturday while it was happening, is we have 2 timeouts with 9 seconds to go when we have that ball. Cal chooses not to take the timeout and let them play through it. Well, we come up with a bad shot.
Yeah.
It doesn't even come close.
And
at the end of regulation, we took that timeout, drew up a play, and the results, you can see the results are totally different.
Well, I know from a fan's perspective, you can live with it a little bit easier if Cal takes a timeout at the end of that game, gets these young guys together and draws up a play. Now, I know I've read, since then that obviously they already had a play ready to go. The big controversy right when the game ended was, should Cal have called a timeout at the end of that game? But it looks like they had a play ready to go, and I even read a stat earlier that, Cal's had more success not calling a timeout at the end of games than he has calling a timeout and getting plays ready to go. I don't want to be one of these people that jump on the bandwagon of Cal not being a great in-game coach. Now, I'm not going to say he's the best. I would have liked to have seen a timeout. Yeah. We were both screaming for a timeout at the end of that game. I just think with a young group of guys like this, it's better get them over there, get them collected. Listen, the Harrison twins aren't out on this court.
No.
Just the killers that can, have proven themselves early in the season like this. I feel like your best bet is just to get a timeout, get those guys over there, get a play drawn up, and get something ready to go. But, Seton Hall having a guy that just goes completely unconscious like he did, you're always going to be in a tough game. And, I'm not as down on this UK team as a lot of people seem to be, and like we've been saying from the beginning, we're not going to know who this team is till halfway through the season, if not SEC tournament time.
Yeah, and you talk about the Harrison twins and their clutch play. I mean, Keldon Johnson was the kid who got him the lead there in overtime. He got him 2 overtime, so he showed that he could step up and make those plays. But that final possession, I think the biggest thing about the timeout that people will draw from that is they looked like they didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Even if they had a play, I don't know if all the players knew that they were what play they were on or on the same page. So, as a fan's perspective, and, it's different being a fan than being there and the coach or a player, but it looked like it would have been good just to calm them down a little bit and maybe just reassure them what the play was. I mean, because, you force that shot that early in the shot. I mean, you still had 6 seconds to where you could come off that screen and roll, do whatever.
Yeah.
And he just kind of tossed it up. So,
he tossed it up and looked like he was trying to draw the foul. If you see the replay, you see him kick his leg out like he's trying to draw the foul on that shot. We're down 3, man. Yeah. You need a good shot to go up. No, we were down 2 at that time. Still, I mean, it looked like to me he was more concerned with drawing the foul by kicking his leg out like that and falling to the ground. I mean, he was looking to get that 3-point foul call right there. But, it was a tough loss. And it doesn't get much easier for the Cats coming up. Obviously, we're heading right into Utah coming up, UNC, Louisville, and then straight into SEC play. And the SEC is going to be tougher than it has been probably the past 3 to 4 years, I would say. So, we'll see where this team ends up. But that was a heartbreaker for sure on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, but it's good to see a team have that much fight and get tested that early on. After the Duke game, we really didn't have any tests.
Yeah.
So getting ready for the big games, at least we got a test under a test game out of the way, and they can learn from this. As long as they keep improving, they'll be fine shape. But, I mean, that schedule does not get any easier. It just gets harder and harder and harder. I mean, like he's talked about the SEC, Tennessee goes and beats Gonzaga yesterday, number 1 team.
Time.
So there's some definite really talented teams in the SEC this year. And then, with Louisville and North Carolina, Utah, those teams coming up, there's a lot of room for improvement. They got to improve pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're going to have to improve pretty quickly, and we need some of these guys that, the name that comes straight to my mind when I think about guys who we really need to step up is Tyler Hero. I mean, he played great in the Bahamas. The Bahamas was a mirage, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think too many UK fans put way too much stock in what this team did in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
But we need a guy like Tyler Hero to really step up. And I mean, he was 0 for 6 from 3, 4 for 13. I mean, he's had really a few rough games in a row. But we'll see where Cal gets this team. We'll see what we get out of this team. It's good to see a guy like Keldon Johnson pull up a big shot in a big moment like that and hit it. We know we've got a guy down the stretch that at least wants to take that shot and is willing to, put it on the line. So we'll see where this team ends up. Got to get better on defense. So.
Absolutely. That's the biggest key right now. Got to get better on defense. And guys got to start figuring out their roles. I mean, right now you got a lot of guys that are interchangeable, and they really don't know their role on the team yet. I mean, who's the clear-cut point guard on this team? We're using 3 different guys at 3 different. There's no clear-cut leader on this team right now, and that's the biggest thing. A young team needs leadership. So, and I'm sure that at some point in the season, Cal will figure that out. And once he does, I think this team will start getting better and better.
I agree. We'll see some separation on some guys, and we'll see some the guys rise to the top that are really going to be the standouts, and we'll see where we're at. Again, I can't judge this team until we get halfway through the season. Like I've been saying from the beginning, I believe most rational UK fans feel that way too. When you got a bunch of young guys like that, we don't know where we're going to be until. And we've seen his teams before struggle through the regular season and then hit tournament time and go on runs. We've seen it a couple of times. So let's see where we're at halfway through the season.
Yeah, and just moving on to NFL stuff from yesterday. I mean, the Bengals, just talking about that loss to San Diego. They tried to come back a little bit at the end, but too little, too late.
Yeah, they looked better yesterday against a Chargers team that's arguably one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They had a chance to tie it and take it into overtime down the last minute of the game. Obviously, ended with a sack that was tough. Jeff Driscoll didn't play terrible yesterday, though. He managed the game pretty well. He wasn't lighting it up. Joe Mixon ran the ball ran 26 times, which is, to me, a ton for the NFL. You don't usually see one back getting that many carries in the NFL, not these days.
No, very rare nowadays.
And the defense was, better than they've been in the last couple of weeks. So, but this Bengals team is we'll see. I mean, they're not completely out of it. They're out of it. I mean, it's a team that's struggling, and Andy Dalton's not coming back. A.J. Green's not coming back. So, it gives us a good chance to see if maybe Jeff Driscoll's the guy that can take over that starting job going into the future. Do you think maybe that he's – I still think you got to draft somebody.
I think you have to draft somebody at this point. I mean, I think you're playing for a draft pick right now. You want one of those top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in that draft. So, I mean, I think that's what they're playing for. You would also imagine that they're playing for to make a change coaching-wise at the end of the season and have a quarterback and a coach, come in on the same page and kind of grow together and figure things out together. But with this Bengals team, who knows? I mean, one thing that kind of did seem to me like yesterday was that it seemed like San Diego jumped out to that lead and just kind of cruised. They put it on cruise control after a little bit.
Yeah, they definitely didn't put them away when they had plenty of chances to put the Bengals away, and they I think were trying to cruise through it. And look, based on the 3 weeks prior to that, I mean, the Bengals hadn't shown a whole lot of fight. But, they were in that one right till the end. Had a great chance to tie it and take it into overtime. But the Bengals were the Bengals yesterday. But we'll see what we end up with. Maybe Jeff Driscoll comes out and plays well the rest of the season. And we can bring in, like I said, a new coach and maybe even a new quarterback and get a little competition going. And, the AFC South, because the Steelers lost yesterday.
Yeah, they're in the North. AFC North. So.
AFC North, yeah. The Steelers lost yesterday, so this thing's up. I mean, technically, the Cleveland Browns are still in it. I mean, you might see the Cleveland Browns, who are playing pretty well, end up winning. Who knows who's going to win that division this year?
Well, speaking of the AFC North, Baltimore had Kansas City on the ropes.
Yeah.
Probably should have won that game. Missed a field goal at the end. Not missed a field goal, but they had a fumble from Lamar Jackson, which would have set up a field goal before that. So, have a chance to win, get Kansas City in overtime, and Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes right now. I mean, ridiculous. Right now he's got to be the league's MVP this year.
Didn't miss a beat without Kareem Hunt, didn't seem like. Patrick Mahomes made a no-look pass yesterday that was absolutely insane. One of the coolest things I think I've seen in the NFL in a couple of years. But in that AFC, to me, obviously the Kansas City Chiefs are cream of the crop. The NFC right now, with the Bears, the Rams, and the Saints playing the way that they are, listen, that Bears team is a problem with that defense, man. With a defense that good, you don't need a great offense.
No, and they're showing that they can win games with their defense alone. And, what they did to the Rams last night, nobody else has been able to do that at all, not even come close. So, and Khalil Mack's looking like, the top player in the NFL from the defensive side. What a matchup, him and Donald for the Rams up front. Both of those guys are so talented in it, but Khalil Mack, the way he changes the game is just unbelievable.
He is next level for sure, and with the my personal, just the way I've seen the Bears play the last few weeks, the way that they're playing right now, a team with that nasty of a defense, all they need is for their offense to get 13 to 17 points. They just shut down arguably the best offensive team in the league last night and made them look pedestrian. Obviously the Kansas City Chiefs and the Rams and the Saints are all kind of right there in terms of the best offensive teams in the league. Part of me is kind of rooting for Drew Brees there.
Drew, a team that I'm kind of on my radar that I've kind of like watching so far has been San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
And San Diego and Kansas City, they play again this week. So right there is a big indication of where this AFC will go through. I think right now it's going through Kansas City. But if San Diego wins this game, wins that division, Super Bowl path to the Super Bowl could be going through San Diego and Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, and we'll see what Andy Reid's team can do in the playoffs. We've seen Andy Reid teams before, fire on all cylinders all regular season, get to the playoffs, just completely drop the ball. This team does seem different, though. They are an absolute juggernaut of the offense. Defense is playing better. I'm really excited about coming down the stretch in the NFL season. Lots of teams that have the potential to be Super Bowl champions.
And one thing we haven't even talked about is the Patriots. The way they lost that game.
Unbelievable.
why Gronk is back at safety, a guy who can't move back there, trying to make a game-saving tackle, and he just can't get there.
Well, you got to know that, and this is a Bill Belichick team. You don't usually see that kind of thing from a Belichick coach team. And from the 30-yard line, you got to know Tannehill doesn't have the arm to get that thing over the top. You got to know they're going to run some kind of play where they lateral the ball all over the field. That was a crazy thing to watch yesterday, and who knows what they were thinking. I mean, Gronk's got no business trying to chase down a running back there.
I mean, and it's one of those things where, all these things usually work in Belichick's favor, putting an offensive player on defense or vice versa, having a linebacker or a lineman come in and run a touchdown in. This is one of the few times it went against him where he might have outcoached himself.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of things I've been seeing and reading this morning, just day after the game happened, is, they're calling it the end of the Patriots era. Now, I'll believe that when I see it. I mean, I've just seen Tom Brady and these guys come back from the dead too long. We'll see. Once they're eliminated from the playoffs, maybe I jump on that bandwagon. Yeah. But right now, I've learned, that division is terrible. Yeah. So they should definitely win that division.
And they're sitting at 9 or 10 wins already. Yeah. They're in comfortable lead. They're still in the 2 seed. So I mean, that's a bit of a stretch to me. Until somebody knocks those guys off. But anything else to add about the NFL? You want to wrap it up?
That's pretty much all I got for the NFL. So I'm done talking about the Bengals. We'll devote a little time to them. But geez,
Yeah, just little things coming up this week. Plenty of high school basketball going on. You'll have the Pike Central Buffalo Wild Wings Classic this weekend. Youth Pike should be back in action this weekend. They had Sunday off. They were scheduled to play yesterday. Yeah. Weather didn't allow that. So basketball should be in full swing here. And then once after Christmas, all your holiday tournaments will start up. And then once we get into January, that's when basketball really picks up around here. So plenty of action going on. Just look for that. And also mention what's coming up with our podcast and the All Mountain Team.
Yeah, so we've got the All Mountain football team. We've recorded a special edition of the podcast for that. Definitely going to be talking about all the players, Coach of the Year, Player of the Year in the region. So be on the lookout for that coming up soon. And as always, throw us a like and a subscribe and give us a comment. Leave us a comment, a topic maybe you want us to talk about that we haven't covered, or something, maybe somebody that you'd like to see Cory and Randy get out and interview. Anything. We'd just love to hear your feedback and your thoughts on the show so far.